the season, Millennial. Let's talk about the final episode of It Welcome to Derry. Wow, this episode was amazing. I I was looking forward to checking it out yesterday, and as soon as it was released, I was like, my wife and I sat down. We're like, hey, let's go check it out. I know she was pumped up and excited about it too. I was like, all right, let's go see it. How are they going to top off the episode 7, which I think was actually a fairly decent episode? It put the story in a way where we're like, wow, it's going to really be a big payoff, or potentially a big letdown in the last episode. But and just to point out, this is a spoiler review of this episode. So if you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend to go check it out first, then come back and see this review. But if not, you've been warned. I'm telling you, I'm going to give you some details on the episode itself. So the second the episode starts, it's like at the school. There's like a bell rings, trying to get all the kids into the auditorium, and like there's an announcement from the school, and there's a play. Yeah, obviously, it's Pennywise. He starts dancing on the stage, gets all the kids caught up in it, and literally, like, just sets the tone for the episode. Like, boom, I'm gonna take all of you. Like, he just went in, and I want to point out, these are the kids that probably haven't seen any Pennywise sightings or anything before. This was like his final, was a snack for the road or for hibernation. I'm just going to take the entire class, which I don't know how many kids there were, like at least 30 or 40 kids there. So he basically gets them all trapped into the auditorium and takes them with him, and he does that whole shining out of his mouth where they start floating, the whole like, I'm going to get him and float him and take him to my lair. And that was the tone at the start of the episode. I was like, okay, well, I mean, where are we going to go from here? And then it kind of jumps right into showing Lily, Ronnie, and Marge hanging out in the tower, like their little lounge area, and they spot the mist. And this was the thing we kind of saw a preview of it in the trailers to the season as a whole, where we saw this mist kind of roaming around through Derry, and this was the episode. It showed it, like it took over the whole town, and the kids were like, oh my gosh, what is this? So when they stepped out of the tower, it's as if the mist kind of put a cloak or something over the eyes of everybody in Derry, and it's kind of showing now what Pennywise wants the kids to see, or what everybody else wants to see. So they see all these missing pictures of all those kids on the body of the tower on the wall, and they're like, oh my gosh, wait, are they, he couldn't have taken all of them or whatever, and like it's impossible. Then they saw Will's photo was on there, so kind of gets them all in a situation where they're like, okay, we got to go rescue him, we got to go figure it out, and it kind of leads into like I do want to point out that this episode alone ran longer than an hour. It was about like an hour and 8 or 9 minutes. It was too short to really be a movie, but I could assure you this felt like the episode itself actually felt like a movie within itself. Like if there was no previous episodes and this was going to be a movie, they could have probably gotten a 2-hour movie out of this and just made the last few episodes in the season summed up in like probably another hour of the movie, and it probably would have paid off. But I'm glad the pacing the way it was, and it really feels fulfilling watching this episode. So like this kind of paints a picture where the kids were, and then jumps to where now Leroy is going to experience seeing or interacting with it, where he gets a phone call and Pennywise gives him a ring, basically has Will's voice pop up where to let him know that like, I got Will, which he did, and that's what got Leroy, like lose his mind, because he's not afraid of anything, because technically he has that situation where he doesn't physically feel pain. So basically Pennywise is like, what would make you feel pain for someone who doesn't feel pain? It's like, and then basically points out that I got your son William. So you see Leroy rush to Dick Halloran to get his help, and Dick's like had it at this point. He's like seeing dead people everywhere. He's losing his mind. So he has he took his pistol and he's like, look, I'm about to solve the issue and basically end this. And Leroy's like begging him at that point, like, I need you to help me, come help save my son, and just kind of make him snap out of that whole situation and what he was feeling. So, and kind of getting him to go see Rose, and Rose is going to help him, give him the something special to make the voices or the visions stop, or and kind of, I guess, be hyper focused, where he could use his powers but in a hyper focused way, not be distracted by all the other things that are going on at the same time, or other voices and visions that he's having. So there, and that kind of leans into them wanting to. And Rose was pointing out that, like, where the center of everything is and where all the pillars are situated, and the importance of the dagger, and how the dagger could be the MacGuffin they were looking for, and this is going to be the thing that's going to basically trap him in his chamber, and the way to do it is to basically take that dagger and take it and place it in a deadwood tree. And it kind of shows this deadwood tree that precedes like anything in the town of Derry. So the deadwood tree has some significance in the lore, where it was kind of probably goes hand in hand with the coming of when the entity came into this world. And by basically placing the dagger in it, that's going to be also the reason it could get trapped in there, or basically can't come out of its chamber anymore. So that's setting the idea of like how we're going to deal with Pennywise. And it kind of shows that the kids want to they hop in a milk truck. They hijack one. Marge somehow knows how to drive a manual, props, in a milk truck, and they kind of make their way through the mist, which is difficult to drive on a normal day, to get to go save Will. And along the way, they kind of crash, but somehow make it there to get to Pennywise's little caravan of kids, of his meat train, as he would like to refer to it, of getting him to his his lair. And he starts picking them off one by one, the kids, because he sees they're there. His interaction, this is probably the most important part of the story, where I feel like this is what really made this particular episode and the season as a whole stand out, is when he had a one-on-one interaction with Marge, and she was basically saying like, hey, it named her last name, her surname that changes after she gets married. She's like, that's not my last name. Yeah, and he's pointing out saying, no, it's your son Richie. And then he kind of points out a photo, and it's Richie from chapter 1 in the movie. So essentially, she's the mother of Richie from chapter 1. And he's like, I wonder what would happen if I was to eat you or kill you, like how that impacts it. So she now understands that he is also from the future, but also from the past. So it's kind of, he like jumps back and forth. So he's aware of the events that are going to take place in chapter 1, chapter 2, post this whole, this season. So from the movies. So he gets stopped in his track. Dick actually kind of, not the dagger itself in this scenario, but Dick kind of puts some sort of the Shining spell into his head and starts messing with Pennywise, a taste of his own medicine. And he's like, what the heck is going on? Because he doesn't quite understand what's going on. So he's kind of in this little frozen state, and that's when the kids and everybody could kind of come together. And I guess Leroy, Rose, Dick, and everybody else made their way to get there to help them out, to make sure they could place the dagger in that deadwood tree, while the General Francis and the military are also there too. So it's an unfortunate situation where he starts shooting. I guess Leroy gets shot. Rose's son or nephew gets killed in the interaction. And General Francis spots Pennywise, kind of like his silhouette in the mist, and he kind of steps over and he sees him. So as he's face to face with him, I guess Pennywise realizes he's under that mind controlled by Dick, and he kind of snaps out of it. So he was able to get out of it. His interaction with General Francis was actually interesting, because like he didn't care for him at first, but then he's like, oh, you could go. Like Jennifer is like, yeah, be on your way. But then he turns around and says, I know that smell. I know who you are. Then he turns around and changes his appearance to the appearance of how he presented himself to General Francis when he was a kid, that he terrified him. So that essentially, finished him off right there. So saying that he is pretty, like, he'll remember stuff and he will follow through. He want to make sure there's nothing lingering. He doesn't want anybody who could remember any interaction or events with him. And he realizes that he knows that he also, and that you could kind of tell, it's like, I know that you know. So he wants to make sure he doesn't continue knowing that, because for whatever reason, people in Derry tend to forget things, kind of like it's that spell or whatever it is in Derry, that all these things could happen. And just like that, it's as if it never happened. So kind of goes up in the air. So while this is all happening, the kids try to take the dagger, go put it in a deadwood tree. They connect with Will, and that's when he went, or when Pennywise went under the spell. The kids kind of fall out of their little floating in the air situation. So Will and the rest of them try to go put that dagger in the tree, the deadwood tree. But this is the part, it was a little like they're just kind of dragging it a little bit. I'm like, but I understood they had to kind of build it up for a little bit. Like, what was the difficulty of placing this in there? But which was what led to you would see in the background that Rich, he shows up. They couldn't see him, but this was a great scene, as you could see Rich running across, and this is as Pennywise could see him too, and he just flips the bird like, yo, I'm about to put you, it's my turn, it's my revenge. And he's like kind of surprised to see him. So in a way, Pennywise is also being shocked about all the different things that are happening too. Like, there are other powers at play in this scenario, and Rich was the reason that kind of helped the kids be able to have enough manpower to place the dagger into the deadwood tree. And that's what basically kills this. And this is the important part of what the takeaway from this episode was, this iteration of Pennywise. So you see he dies, her skin gets pulled back, and you get that original kind of baby look or face that you saw in the very first episode in the theater where he attacked those kids. Like, it wasn't quite Pennywise in his clown form, it was more like a child form. But he floats away, like he dies. You can tell he kind of breaks off, and he gets shot too. Don't forget that, because he was getting shot. Leroy was like, I'm going to stop him, like boom, 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 taking shots, like stopping him to slow him down so the kids can make it to the Deadwood. But obviously that wasn't the reasoning for his death, because it's not going to really kill him. You need to have the dagger to do it. But once you could see that he basically left or went to slumber, or it seems he actually died, and this was the important part, takeaway from it, is that he did die in this episode, or in this iteration of him. And when the kids got back together, and I think it was Marge's discussion direct with Lily when they were back in the tower, and she was saying that he talked to me, and he interprets time differently than we do. He experiences time differently, and that's where she understood that he moves forward and backward, and in the present at the same time. What if he's going to go back in the past and try to kill our parents or grandparents to prevent us? And Lily's like, well, what are we going to do about it? We can't go back in time. But that the interesting part about that is that also means that he did die in It Chapter 2, the movies. But is he really dead? That iteration of It is dead, or the Pennywise, the clown. That means 27 years later, he could show up again. And that's what I'm excited about. What if there is a continuation of story? And I know they build it up where, in a way, the story paid off very well at the end. It kind of pointed out where Dick was like, hey, I'm done with this. I've got a job in London. I got a friend that connected me. I'm going to be a chef. So kind of lead into his continuation of his story in The Shining. I would be interested if they're going to have any kind of side stories in the future, and in other ways. Or, well, I know the other chapters they're going to go backwards in time, but what if there's like a side story that talks about his growing up, or him, I guess, learning more about his powers, The Shining, as he's in the hotel. But but that was like a whole little nod to that. And it was interesting when they show Ingrid going in the hospital and her being in the asylum, and it kind of fast forwards time to 26 years later, which is a year shy of the 27 years. And it shows, and this is what leads into the chapter one, is that is October 1988, because it chapter one takes place in 1989. She goes in the room, the side where it shows another patient that ended her own life there, and there was a husband and a child that are crying, and the child turned around and it's the girl from it chapter one. So it's showing the connection of the story, and basically Ingrid looks at her that says no one really dies, and no one really dies in Derry. And the kid's like, what the heck, this is a crazy person, so she probably wouldn't expect anything else for it being in the asylum. But that was basically a good way to lead into the movies. And I really genuinely feel Andy Muschietti did a wonderful job in putting, like, basically bringing the season together in this last episode, and really giving us a really fulfilling ending to the chapter and the episode itself. And it was very cohesive with the movies. I felt Pennywise's iteration in this season was wonderful, but this specific episode, he was better and scarier than the movies. Like, the movies, he was pretty scary, but this was like top tier. He definitely was. He was on a different level, and it got me. What's great about it is it got me excited to go back and watch the It movies. So we watched it before the series started. Now I kind of want to go back and start watching chapter one and chapter two back to back, and maybe even going back to Tim Curry's version, just kind of comparing the two. So I'm a big, huge horror thriller fan, and when I see these kind of things, it gets me so pumped up. I feel like horror is absolutely making its way back to mainstream again. It definitely wasn't a thing for the last probably couple of decades. I feel the way the show has gone forward, it's definitely a success. I will give this particular episode 9.5 out of 10. Easy, possibly a 10 out of 10, but there's just like that whole dagger thing. They were just kind of dragging it on. I kind of took off a 0.5 because of that, but other than that, everything was perfect. Highly am excited about to see chapter two. I know they're going to go back in time in the 30s, which is going to talk about the gang wars and what that meant in Derry, and possibly you're going to see Pennywise giving a nod back to what happened in the future. Like, he knows now we understand he knows time both forward, backward, and present. So there might be some things and elements in there that's going to make this a lot more interesting of a story of someone who's going back, or something that's able to go back in time. So would love to hear what you guys think about this episode. If you enjoyed it as much as I did, if you thought it wasn't that interesting, if the episode wasn't for you, or or this particular series wasn't, if you have anything you would like to share, please do put it in the comments below. I read every comment you guys put out there. Would love for you guys to subscribe and stay tuned. I give reviews on TV series, movies, stuff that I find interesting, new tech, stuff that's out there that's important. I'm in the real estate field. I do speak about some real estate and business and what's going on in the finance sector as well. So I kind of want to share a little bit of all that stuff. So stay tuned for the next episode. We'll see you guys then.